Eskenazi. You're watching News 24 Live. I'm joined in studio by Alan Committee and Candice Van Littenberg. Today we are talking about The Little Shop of Horrors. And it only took me 3 times to get that right.
You're brilliant. You've got better since I last saw you.
Thank you.
At least you're facing the cameras now. I mean, this is good. This is very
I'm not
impressive.
facing the back.
Well, it worked that way. Some lovely people here. Yes, Little Shop of Horrors. We're happy to be here and talking about the show.
Okay, tell me about The Little Shop of Horrors. It's a musical. It's a horror, but it's also quite funny, I've heard. So tell me about it.
Well, essentially, it's a musical comedy.
Yeah.
But it's one of those pastiche musicals in the vein of like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
This was my next question.
Yeah. Right.
Is it similar?
It's similar in the sense that it pastiches a whole lot of different styles. It was created in the 80s, the musical. Yes. The actual first movie was shot in the 60s by a B-rate Hollywood director called Roger Corman. And then they created the play, or rather the musical out of it. And that took off, and then out of that came the movie of the musical, which was also a hit in the 80s. And I think those of us who are 80s babies, and I certainly count myself as one of those, it was kind of a defining great musical because it had people like Steve Martin and John Belushi, Bill Murray, and of course Rick Moranis, And it was funny, and it's very funny, but it also has its dark side. So it's a real pleasure to kind of bring that to South African stages now.
Nice. So Candice, when's the first time you saw Little Shop?
Oh God, probably primary school. Yeah, I grew up obviously watching it, emanate, repeat. So I probably saw it many, many times before I was into high school. And then I did it in Standard 8. It was my school play, so I played one of the narrators.
What school is that?
Victoria Park High School.
See, I directed it at Westerford High School in the 90s. It's a great school production. So I think a lot of people will have an experience of it in school. Because it's such a family-friendly show in many ways, but it has all those kind of great acting parts. And it's not a big cast. You can, in school, you can do it either with the 10 as we do it here professionally, or you can
add lots of
lots of people. Exactly. So it's perfect for school. So it's interesting. I think most people in the cast have had some kind of school experience.
Really? That's interesting. I never experienced it during school, but...
Well, where did you go to school?
Canada.
Yeah.
Well, that would be why
any more about that. It's ridiculous.
Alan, tell me about your character. You play Seymour Krelborn.
Yeah, Krelborn. He's the very bad florist and botanist who's desperately he loves strange and interesting plants essentially, and that's one of his hobbies. And during the course of this production, he finds this very interesting plant that comes during the total eclipse of the sun, appears before him, and he brings it to the shop. And suddenly, with the introduction of this weird plant into his very downtrodden world where nothing is going well, he's madly in love with his colleague Audrey. She's already involved in another relationship. He doesn't have a very healthy relationship with the boss of the florist shop. But as soon as he brings this plant, his fortunes change unbelievably. And then we discover this plant has a strange secret in that it feeds on blood, and that he has to keep feeding the plant blood, and then it grows. And the more he feeds it, the more his fortunes get better and better. And then if you get that Faustian undertone of how much are you prepared to sell your soul to the devil. That's the dark side of it.
Or the alien plant.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a turn that I wasn't
exactly.
expecting.
But that's and that's where it kind of does link to a kind of a show like Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's got quite dark. But then there are these mad characters like the dentist who Audrey's...
my semi-sadist boyfriend who beats me up and does terrible things to hobos and to, everyone who comes to have their teeth done.
Okay.
So, and he's one of the people
that
that...
you're laughing.
So again, you've got quite dark subject matter, but we need to emphasize that the music, the music is written by 2 gentlemen who've done a range of amazing Broadway productions subsequently, but this was one of their first collaborations, wasn't it?
It's Alan Menken who also did The Little Mermaid and Aladdin and all those shows, so everyone knows his music.
And the music is fantastic, and in fact that's one of the reasons why people mostly know the show. Suddenly Seymour, Downtown, the Dentist song, these are all kind of well-known tunes, well-known musical numbers. And the musical is very light and frothy because it's done in a cartoon style almost. And we kind of play big broad caricatures, but what we attempt to do in the show is to bring it with a bit of heart, because it is essentially a love story of these 2 downtrodden people in Skid Row, which is the kind of lower end of Brooklyn in New York, and they kind of and how they play out their love story.